All right, so sticking with Netflix now, let's talk about the Cuphead show, right? So, I'll confess here one time, haven't beaten Cuphead, right? I'll just give a little context quickly, right? So, I believe it was 2017, right? This was where we did our final episode of BSB to Billy. We did it by, I think it was one of your relatives, right after Christmas.
Okay.
You all had like this Christmas lunch or whatever it is, right? And
It's
then
probably my aunt. I know Ruka.
yes, there, right?
Yes, I'm my aunt, yeah.
I remember the day before, obviously being Christmas, right? And I was just like, let me just try Cuphead. Like I have it on my hard drive just there. Let me try playing this thing. And that game kicked my ass so much.
Okay.
I was just like, no, I'm not even going to continue on. This is Christmas. Why am I getting my ass whooped from a game like this, right? And here's the thing. I love run and gun games, right? I'm a huge fan of Metal Slug. No, I never,
Right.
I cannot still to this day beat that game with one coin, but it brought back that feel now. What really drew me into that game was the world of Cuphead.
Yes.
This 30s, 40s cartoon inspired vibe,
Right, Rubber
right down to the
Hose.
jazzy
Yeah.
music, the rubber
Yeah.
hose animation style,
Cap Calloway.
very
Yeah.
Walt Disney, Fletcher Studios. I think it's
Yeah,
Fletcher.
Mac Fletcher, yeah.
Yeah. So of course it harkened back to, Looney Tunes and Popeye and Betty Boop and stuff like that, right? But it was just in this really ridiculously colorful and surrealist style, though. And yeah, it just roped me in there. But it's just that game was kicking my ass, so I just never touch it. But after seeing this show here, I like, what? Maybe I should actually try it again. This kind of focus on it. This know that it's a difficult game, and maybe I might beat a level or two, whatever, right? But yeah, what this show is about in a nutshell is it's about the two characters, right? The two leads that will be Cuphead and his brother Mugman, right?
Yeah.
And it's just these 10 to 15 minute episodes, just these misadventures
vignettes.
involving the two, vignettes basically.
Yeah.
And it's very much akin to, just classic Saturday morning cartoons that we've grown up on, whether it's Tom and Jerry or Tom and Jerry Kids, or to extent SpongeBob, right? It's in that same vein, right? That same sort of comedic vein, right? But at the same time, it is set in the world of Cuphead, the Inkwell Isles, basically. So we're seeing characters from the games and whatnot, particularly bosses and whatnot, right? You see them there. There is a subplot involving, well, the devil character, right, who shows up as well, right? Which I'll talk about in a bit, right? And it's really about him particularly wanting Cuphead's soul. He has a thing against Cuphead. He wants Cuphead's soul. Not really Mugman for reasons, I don't know. You also see the caretaker Elder Kettle. Because you have to have the adult when you have the crazy kids running about doing crazy stuff, right? So that's really the gist of it. It's just this world, and we see these characters, and it's just hijinks, but in particular, uh, which is one thing I really have to give credit where credit is due. Praise, I should say. It's just how it harkens back to that old school animation vibe. Even right down to having green, you know what I mean, on the actual image itself. You could like literally see the green and stuff in the visuals themselves, though. So it's just really like a throwback to old school, comedic animation and stuff, but it's in the world of Cuphead, right? That's all I have to say. So, Ricardo, as someone who has played the games, and I imagine beaten the games, what were your thoughts on the Cuphead show?
Well, yeah, I didn't really use the games as any reference point to judge this show. I more compare it to something like Ren and Stimpy or SpongeBob. It felt very SpongeBob, to be honest, right?
Right.
And I was a little underwhelmed by this because of the writing. The writing is kind of on the weekend. It's skewed a lot younger than I expected. I thought this was going to be a kind of, wink at the audience, kind of,
Yeah. A little edgy, given what the game is.
A little something. And I thought we was going to get something in the same vein as again, I was expecting SpongeBob, but it's more like a lighter version of SpongeBob without any of the edginess, right?
Just like legit psychedelic vibe that show goes for anyway. Yeah.
Right. I didn't hate it. It's fine. It have a lot of great episodes. The middle episodes are probably the best. That is the one with Wayne Brady in it. That's pretty
Oh
cool.
yeah, where he plays King Dice. Yeah, that
Right,
is
yeah.
easily the best episode though.
One of the better
bar none.
episodes. Yes, legit. It's funny. It's subverted the material. You know where it was going because you see those jokes done so many times before, but it's still really damn funny how they do it. Execution is off the top. Was really well done. And yeah, I just overall I just think it just played a little too straight for what it is. Like it clearly catered to the younger audience, and I was like, all right, it's good, but I'm not loving it. Like, to be honest, right? And that's about it. Like from a sheer craftsmanship standpoint, it's good. That's it. But everything else was like I was pretty underwhelmed. That's about it. I can't really say much more. Voice acting, okay. I don't love it. It's fine. But I can't say in good conscience I love it. It's fine. But it's just the craftsmanship really worth writing about, right? It's not brilliant, but it's just they just do all the little techniques, little grain, and it appeals to just that rubber hose animation, and they do different styles of animation within it, and it's like, okay, cool. But I was expecting something much more clever and funnier and more interesting with the conceit, and they really need to pump up the writing a lot. Like they need to punch up that writing. I felt if they did that, I would have enjoyed it a little more. That's about it.
Yeah, well, I pretty much agree with you as well, man. But for me, I think where the show kind of falls is that, admittedly, while you're watching this show, and even like when I watched the entire season out, for people who are going into this completely blind, I don't think that they will I think they will be like honestly surprised that there was a video game that there is a video game based off of this. I felt like we could have seen, more instances of, hey, this is a game after all, guys. Like we're still doing the old school hijinks stuff, the comedy stuff, but we still have to remind people that this is still a game, though. You know what I mean? So let's incorporate bits of it, whether it's like a adventure they go into, or again just zeroing in more on that devil arc, right? But I'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, go ahead.
But that show how topsy-turvy we have the marketing. So like back in the days, it would have been a cartoon first and then a video game after on Sega or whatever it is, right? Is the
okay.
Because the media landscape is totally different now. They made a video game first, and there's the backstory behind how the game was made and whatnot is really, really really fascinating. I think if I remember correctly, they had to get a second mortgage out and all kind of weird shit.
Oh, wow,
it was insane. Like how much did they put on the line? They literally kind of bet the farm. With respect to that, like they was really on the edge, and it was in a time when that would have been super risky. Like it was after the financial crisis, well into America's down. The not depression but recession. So it was fascinating to see how much risk was taken with respect to the project. But that's about it. It's nothing else more than that. But because everything worked out so well, and now Cuphead is effectively a mega franchise. And well, we could get into probably a more interesting history about the nature of animation in the United States, and that if you're catering to that history, do you talk about like the legacy of racism that's tied up with it, or something like that? Like basically we getting all the upside of that with none of the downside of that legacy of racism, for example, because almost all of this tied to racism, like why the gloves white and all of that weird insidious history, right? But they do that and they make it work for what it is. Nothing else really worth mentioning as the product on itself. But I can imagine some interesting discourse about that aesthetic and that time period and appealing to that retrograde aesthetic. Because we're postmodern again. Everything comes full circle, right? In that sense, where we're post Ren and Stimpy and post SpongeBob, but also, we're going back to that history on its own merit and trying to make a case for that as it is. But anyway, as a storytelling device and project, I'm not that impressed with it, to be honest. It's not that funny. It's again for kids. If you're going to a younger audience, and it's fine, it might work. But it does cater to a 7+ audience. But I really, really wanted something more interesting and for them to play with that as it is. As it is, I don't know, quick rating. I don't know, maybe like a 6 out of 10. But again, it gets a lot of points because of the sheer craftsmanship involved. I can't be mad at any of that, to be honest. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this again for me though. I just felt like there should have been more reminders that this is a video game after all, guys. Right? That
Right.
scene you have to have big boss battles or whatnot. But like there was one episode in particular involving the characters having to go and get this egg from a volcano. Right? So it's an
Right.
adventure
Right.
that they're
Yeah, that's
going on.
one of the
I
last
thought we
one
could
of
have
the
had
jobs.
more of that. Also, in
Right.
particular, there is a subplot involving the devil wanting Cuphead's soul, right? And it shows up in like about 4 or 5 episodes in ways or in some way, shape, or form. There, I particularly really dug the devil character. Remember a lot of him from
Pop-Up Girls, yeah.
from Pop-Up Girls, that
Right, yeah, yeah. There's always
devil character.
there's always make the devil gay for some reason. So like
Yeah, which is
him
weird.
him from Pop-Up Girls or remember the devil or
Or
African
from
character.
Common Chicken, yes,
Oh,
yes,
chicken,
yes,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same
it's
thing.
kind of weird though. Maybe that's what that Lil Nas X was getting at with the Montero video.
Well, that's,
Maybe.
yeah. That's a very, very blatant commentary. Yes,
Yeah.
you are correct. Very, very clear
Right.
commentary there. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, but I love how over the top that guy was as the devil though, and just
Yeah, it was
how
great. I
fucking
thought the voice acting,
together.
the voice acting in this was overall pretty good. Like, can't
It
be mad
was,
at
it was.
anything.
Yeah.
As I said,
and
Wayne Brady in particular really, really shined. He was really, really
yes,
funny and well done.
as Kick Dice, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was surprised too that the guy who voiced Cuphead was a black man, because
Well,
yeah,
yeah. Well, that's
with
a working conceit nowadays. Like the main person is a black guy. All of a sudden, like same thing with Star Trek, the new Star Trek Prodigy. Yeah, the star is like, oh, it's a black kid, and he's actually a really, really talented voice actor.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But the whole transatlantic voice, well, half
Yes.
transatlantic, half
Yes,
Italian
yeah.
American. Hey,
Oh.
you wise guy. They
Yeah.
do that, and it fits, right? I found myself laughing in bits. That I wasn't expecting to be on the floor laughing, right? But I was
Right.
laughing in bits
Yeah,
because of the there's a lot of sight gags in this, though. A lot of visual gags in this, right? And it owes a lot to, again, old school cartoons. If you know what to look for, you're like, okay, that's funny. When they did this, when they explode, okay, right. It works there, right? I'm not sure how it's going to work for a younger audience, especially those who haven't grown up on Tom and Jerry or Popeye or anything like that, right? But for us Gen Xers, we're like, yeah, even though we might know all the episodes of Merry Melodies or whatever it is, we will be familiar with what the references. We will know exactly what they get at, right?
Right.
And yeah, just how they committed visually, though, it totally works. Even the music as well, too, using a lot of upbeat jazz, it works. The theme song grew on me as well too, right?
All right. And not special.
Yeah. The lyrically it's kind of alright. They kind of
not
force it
special. It's
down
all
roots
right.
here,
All right.
but the music in particular, especially that piano, that it's catchy, though. I kind of found myself like
it's
really
the
thinking
same.
about it.
As I said, the working comparison is kind of like, again, well, the last thing, and this was our original throwback to a lot of old cartoons. The Animaniacs, right? The modern Animaniacs remake have a similar conceit, but that I think just did such a great job of making a bunch of modern callbacks and
Exactly, and they do a lot of pop culture references.
Yeah,
in
not
Animaniacs
perfect.
anyway.
Not perfect. I have a lot of problems with it, but like for the most part, I was really, really thoroughly enjoying that show for what it was trying to do and say. And this was like not so much, right? It was like this.
Yeah, but it and also too, just a couple things before I get to read it. It really does rely on your knowledge of cartoons of this nature. So if you're
See, I had to be
familiar
an
with
animation
Stimpy,
nerd now. That's why
Yeah.
it's a little too reliant on that.
exactly. So if you know Ren and Stimpy, if you know SpongeBob and Patrick, that's who Cuphead and Mugman are. They move like they've had one too many bowls of cereal, right? They just always been spazzy, that kind of stuff there. And at times it works when it comes to delivering some really decent jokes. Other times it's like, all right, you're just being so goddamn annoying. Why? You know what I mean? I did like the whirl of this, just incorporated all these old school looking characters and whatnot, and it fits within the whole surrealist swirl of Cuphead anyway, right? The final episode in particular, I'm not gonna see what happens there, right? But I make a joke while I was watching this. I was saying, what would be funny is if they actually end the show there and say to be continued. And holy shit, it ends right at that particular point and they say to be continued. And I was like, way. They actually had the balls to just stop the show there and say, hey, you wanna know what happens next? Wait till season 2. And actually, season 2 and I think 3 has already has been greenlit. That's like, wow, okay.
Right.
But there's the mere fact that they ended like that though, because like that, I was like, wow, okay. and even bring up something really interesting with the character who was brought into this. Miss Chalice, that's her name. Well,
Right,
Ricardo,
right,
maybe you
right.
could tell me if there's a character for the
She
game or
from the
not.
DLC. I think she was in the DLC, if I can remember. I haven't played the DLC, but I just played the first game. I beat it once. That was about it because I was kind of,
All right,
to be honest, it's a game that kind of bore me because it had too many goddamn boss battles, and the boss
that's why
battles boring.
that's what was getting me about this. Sure, like
Boring.
let
The
just
boss
let the
battles
game
is
breed, then hit my boss. Every damn level is like it
yeah,
starts with a
everything is a
boss and ends
boss.
with a
No,
boss.
because when
Like
the thing when you first Cuphead, when they do the platforming stuff, I love it. I love it all the platforming stuff. But the boss battles are so tedious and annoying. And like, all right,
boy,
and everything is a tedious boss battles. Like, all right, I know it's Metal Slug, but
that's
still,
why I give up. That's why I give up
yeah.
on it.
I was like, I know it's Metal Slug and everything, but still, though, like this not
Even
really
Metal
wow.
Slug had
And I only
progression
did it.
levels, though. You know,
Yeah, I only
whatever.
did it for a sheer sense of well, all right, I had to finish it, now, like whatever. And yeah, did it eventually. You get accustomed to the they call it by the little pink buttons. You have to get to power yourself up.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But yeah. But for what it's worth, though, I do have to applaud the effort. I have to respect, I should say, the decision by the creators themselves to say, okay, it's not the video game that we're making a show of. It's the shows, the cartoons themselves that we paid homage to in the games. That's what we're really going for with this show. So after respect them for that decision, but at the same time, again, for people who go into this not knowing anything about Cuphead, I know they'll come out of this shocked and surprised, like, wait, there's a video game for this, and why is the show like the
Well, I
video
have no
game? You
idea.
know what I mean?
Because to
So
me, the franchise was popular enough before the show, so I'm not sure what the case for this to be made anyway. I ain't sure.
right, but I think for me the real reason is just to make it a little distinct instead of it's a
Right,
pastiche of old cartoons. Because I
right.
mean, for better or for worse, that's what the show is a pastiche of old cartoons, right? But I
Yeah.
felt if they incorporated bits of the video game in some way, shape, or form, like I said, that episode where they had to go and get that egg, right, where it's an adventure they're going on. I felt it would work here. So really, at the end of the day, it's really the storytelling that should have been bumped up a little bit more, right? Because yeah, you get the hijink stuff and the stuff that you've seen before. You have the character who, like this episode involving the one character losing his handle. It's like, oh my god,
Right,
what do
right,
I do,
right,
right? So
right.
stuff like that. You have those episodes, but then you had this stuff involving the devil. I was like, okay, well, yeah, I like it that because there's some progression going on here. Even in the final episode, they hint at something there. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, this is really interesting, but they stop it and say, oh well, to be continued, right? So it's like that, right? But yeah, I do hope with the second season, the storytelling is improved though, because I understand it's a throwback to old cartoons, but it's going way too deep into going into doing that though, to the point that it could feel derivative. The
Yeah,
writing could feel really derivative at times, right? But the animation saves it though. This is just the detail, the attention to detail is just stellar in my opinion. The voice acting very admirable as well too, and the music, like I say, theme song is kind of but the sound about that piano though that sticks out to me a lot, right?
right.
So for me, rating wise, I'm gonna give this lighter, decent 3.5 out of 5. Man, I would say
Right.
it's worth checking out, right?
Yeah.
It's last thing I'll say. It's kind of weird though, given the audience, the Y7 audience now, because yeah, kids are gonna enjoy this though, but I feel like for fans, like for grown fans who enjoy the old the throwback vibe of it though, they most likely will come out of this kind of disappointed because it didn't
Right.
feel like the games that they've adored and whatnot, right? So let's
Yeah.
hope that with the second season they bridge that gap. They bridge the gap between the video game and the cartoons that they're paying tribute to.
Probably.
That's what I want. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. As I said, just quick. As I said, they could have done a lot more with it. In terms of just the writing, I just need to punch up the writing because if it was as good as say SpongeBob, I'd have loved it. I'd have been like, oh yeah, this is hilarious and I love it. But when it didn't wow me enough to say, to do that, and I really wanted them to do that, to be honest. However, moving on.
Right. So last thing last now, sticking with video games for one more time now. Let's talk about Uncharted.
Oh
Well,
boy.
Ricardo, you will talk about this. I did not get around to seeing
Right.
it at
Okay.
all. It was just
Oh boy.
shenanigans at home with me, right? So I
Right.
will just say this one bit, and then you could talk about I guess you should mention it, right? Your history with the games, and then you could
Right.
jump into the movie and stuff like that, right?
Well,
Um,
speaking of the game now, I thought you don't need to care or reference the games at all. In the case of Cuphead, in this, you kind of had to think about the goddamn games because the sad part is that, okay, we'll get into it. It originally just fails as a project because of that having the reference games but not really reference games at the same time. That's kind of the
oh,
main
okay,
problem with
okay,
this.
okay. And it's
Um,
ironic too because yeah, I mean, I know this even though I've never played an Uncharted game. Indiana Jones, primary inspiration behind
it have
Uncharted, right?
it have so much like contrivance going in terms of referencing other stuff. So Indiana Jones, I think main one because the original game had that problem. Then this is oh gosh, is King Solomon's Mines and
Oh, okay, we
referencing
go in with Alan Quatermain. Okay, okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's just
All
it's
right.
just about but that's then a little bit of Tomb Raider and a little bit of probably even Goonies at some point. Like
Okay.
it's
Oh,
all
so
like
so
that.
anything with adventure. All right, right.
Anything with
Okay.
adventure, it's so generic.
Anything with
All right,
modern
so
adventures
to
and
start,
quests and shit.
to
Okay, I
start,
got you.
to start,
Right.
to start. All right, so let us get into the story. What the story is about. So it's basically it's Nathan Drake begins, right? It's not the games themselves. That is why they justify um casting Tom Holland, right? Because
Right.
it he had to look young, and one of the biggest conceits is that way Tom Holland looking too baby for this one. That's one of the biggest thing. Now this doesn't bother me too much, right? The problem with Tom Holland is this: it's not the issue of age. The issue is Tom Holland is an ectomorphic body type. That's the problem, right? Nathan Drake
Okay.
is not an
I see.
ectomorphic body type. So unless Tom Holland make the effort to bulk up, you're not gonna get a well done. It looking a little off now, and that's why people say he's looking too baby because he's not looking like Drake, right? He looking too not young necessarily because again, good nutrition and time and will make people look younger than normal, right? I know the problem. Problem is that Tom Holland has the wrong body type. That's the problem. Anyway, the the story is that it's Mark Wahlberg, who was supposed to play Nathan Drake originally and would have made more sense, um, is hunting for some treasure issue, and he meet up with this kid, and you get roping involved in a thing, and then your girl from Sabrina, Tatia Gabrielle, she's on the other
Oh
side.
yeah, yes. I saw the
In,
trailer. I was like, what? You with this?
yeah, she in
Nice.
this right. She should have been Catwoman in my opinion, but whatever. And
I know, right?
yeah, and the whole they get into this big multiple adventures involving a ship, a couple of ships, and it's just it starts the main story, but then they get into character work involving right what do you call it involving Nathan Drake and Sully and how they meet effectively, and that's the whole idea. Here's the weird part about this, right? For some reason, we are trying to play it as if Mark Wahlberg is the lead now, right? By the way,
Oh really?
Mark Wahlberg is the reason he's the only person that pulls this down, yeah? Again, in his utter mediocrity. The eternal mediocrity of Mark Wahlberg.
Good
Um,
vibrations, man. Good
right,
vibrations.
But that's about it. Like they make it easy star. They have it playing with for what the conceit is. And then it's just them bouncing off each other, but none of it is any interesting or works in any like great way. It's like fine, whatever, but like they have to have him do a bunch of shit from the games because like the game says so. Remember, he had to climb with two hands on a wall, and it's like, yeah, we don't need to do that. Anyway, the game says so. That's
Right,
a
right, right.
this is nowhere near as bad as something like Assassin's Creed. Like I was expecting Assassin's Creed. I didn't get Assassin's Creed. It have
Oh,
a
thank
couple
God.
it have a couple okay set pieces. It's very sometimes feeds a little Pirates of the Caribbean. A little frenetic. That last set piece involving the two ships is quite good for what it is. I like all right, cool. I don't hate none of this. So that's about it. That's nothing worth mentioning other than that. I don't know, maybe like a 5 or 4 out of 10 for me. Um, yeah, it just I came home and then I kind of forget about it almost immediately. It's only when
Huh.
you contact me and I was on thing. I was like, all right, yeah, watch that today. Right.
Yeah.
It's forgettable. It's really
Yeah,
forgettable.
I've been
But
hearing that, just from a lot of critics, about how forgettable it is, right?
yeah, because they don't do anything. And again, if it came out at the time when the games was a lot more relevant, then it might have do something and stick somewhere, right? But it didn't really do that, and that was about that. Did I hate this? As I said, it's not Assassin's Creed bad, right? But it's still forgettable. And like, the problem is that they're still trying to make Mark Wahlberg a thing now. Like, that's my main problem with a lot of this. Like them real trying to frame it as if Mark Wahlberg is the star and this Tom Holland kid is the sidekick, and they're all framing up Mark Wahlberg. I was like, yeah, but Tom Holland is like the star of like two of the major biggest blockbusters in the last couple of years. So like, what's your story? Mark Wahlberg at the hand just dragging down everything. And again, if they should get another lead, like they get Chris Pine or somebody like that to actually like do something. Mark Wahlberg, I find, is the problem here. They're really sub catering to his mediocrity, people.
That's all. Chris Pine or Pratt?
No, Pine. Or Pratt. Pratt could have worked too.
I would have said Pine though. I find Pratt he's just overused these days.
Yeah,
especially when it comes to likable leads. Like you're looking for a likable lead.
Two of them part of Marvel, so they could have worked together probably, maybe, right? They had a couple. They had one really good moment in Avengers: Infinity War with each other, what I thought was funny. So they could have run with that bit, right? They had one good joke. They had one good joke together, and I thought they could have played with that going forward. So that's about it. But that's everything else. I'm not really feeling it or what it is. As I say, only Mark Wahlberg is the main reason this get held back. They could have get a little more points if they had better chemistry and dialogue with each other, and that's about it. Yeah, moving on. Yeah, rating. I want to say 5 out of 10, but maybe like a close to 4 out of 10 to be honest. But whatever, moving on. It's fine.
Right. Okay, so I just have one question, right? And this was the fear that I had with this movie, right? So for a lot of people, like, people like me who never played any of the Uncharted games will probably have no clue who Nathan Drake is. I know, but some people may not know, right? Does the show itself, do justice enough for you to be like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I should seek the games out somehow, you know what I mean? Or is it that, all right, you have to be a fan and to really get into it? That was the fear. Like, could a non-fan go into this blind and appreciate it, quote unquote, or you had to be a fan and know all the references and shit?
No, not really. Again, the problem is that video games is a different medium. So when they wrote the original one, it was like, oh well, we couldn't really make we couldn't really make a Indiana Jones game, so we could just do kind of Indiana Jones and mixed up with a bunch of other shit, similar to Tomb Raider. Nobody expecting deep writing or nothing like that. You just had to get a guy who kind of looked like a guy, and again, a lot of it is just basically basing it on what is Nathan Fillion from Firefly, right? Is that character, right? That's pretty much what the conceit is, and that passed for good writing back then, right? And so now when you don't make an effort or do anything interesting, especially now when we have games like Last of Us and things that had genuinely good writing, it's a little too little too late now. And none of these people make the effort and they kind of half-ass it. So that's why I'm not really hyped for any of it, because even back then it was bullshit. So it's like, whatever, like none of it is engaging now, for what they're trying to do or say now. So that's why I'm not really, they ain't saying nothing. Like nothing is here. It's just, this is a conceit and an excuse to have a really cool gameplay and action sequences. And the reason why that's engaging is because it's a video game, right? For you to now come with a TV show now, you had to pump it up a little more, right? That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Nothing more, nothing less. As I said, the set pieces was not half bad. It was all right. It's fine. That's about it.
Okay. I will wait till it comes out digitally and.
Yeah, if you can play the video games, because the story in the video games, especially the fourth one, is not bad writing, but that is only over time, they're trying to do the whole Nathan Drake Begins conceit, and again, if Tom Holland had bulk up a little bit, it would have been fine. Like I would have been like, okay, this could kind of work, but because he's so skinny and baby, he's like, all right, well, I ain't really feeling. Moving on.
All right. Well, I suspect that we may not get any more films of this in the near future. Like, I don't see that this is going to be a flop, like a show that people will just look back with Disney and like see Assassin's Creed or Warcraft.
Right,
but similar to those two movies, I honestly don't think we will see a sequel like this. And why I see this because I know, these guys probably went in with the intention of making this thing a franchise.
Of course.
I mean that's why they picked Uncharted in the first place.
Yeah, right? Exactly. If they did this back when the games was relevant, then fine. The project stay in developmental hell for so long, like nobody cares now. Like anybody really talking about Assassin's Creed? Where's the hotness now? The new hotness now is what do you call she? Aloy now. That the new hotness now. I forget the name of the game. Horizon.
Right.
Yeah. Zero Dawn now. Right.
Yeah. I know you talk about
Yeah, that game now come out. The part one was really good. Like if they make that, But when Hollywood tried to do that now, they're going to take 15 years again. Nobody will care back then. Too much time passed. You had to do it one time. And I heard they was going to do it within a year of the franchise. The only franchise that could probably hold up, and if they try to do it now because of the nature, the combat and the gameplay, will be probably like Gears of War, because Gears of War have a legit interesting story now. Mass Effect was as well, right? Because it's a solid sci-fi universe. But Nathan Drake's so generic now. Like, who care? Care about this? You gotta get a good, interesting world-building sci-fi universe. That's why Witcher working out, because Witcher's like, yeah, actually have a good books and lore behind it, and it had a series behind it before that now. So yeah, but Mass Effect, same thing. Mass Effect is solid building. I don't know what you're gonna do with Nathan Drake. Nathan Drake is like he's just a guy. Like, what's so deep about Nathan Drake? Somebody listen, I shall go and get downvote and people go make noise on whatever, YouTube or whatever to think about like what's so special about Nathan Drake exactly? He's a smart guy and he kinda clever. Like we just had a Reacher series. You know?
Yeah, well,
yeah, we just had Richard.
It's just legit feeling like a dartboard that we just see right now. It's just like, oh, which franchise? Just throw that. Okay, Uncharted. All right, cool. There you go with that. Yeah. That's clearly what this is.
As I say, last point. Too little, too late. Not special. We need to do something more interesting with this. I don't know. Whatever. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on.